mean, you had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from Rock Solid Studios in Granite Falls, it's time for MinneZona Sports, live with DJ Matty C. and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, we are back for another show, episode 46. And also, it is December 23rd, I believe, Christmas Eve, and then Christmas is coming up or something like that. But anyway, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callan, a.k.a. Callan, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Woods and Shore Studios, very snowy Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, Paul Vold, the Shield. What's going on, Shield?
It is a cold and wintry December night. I've got a heated blanket wrapped around my feet. There's puppy chow being made in the background. I just got a delivery of holiday M&Ms. It is going to be a fantastic show tonight, and I'm more than excited. I got to get these M&Ms eaten right now.
Yeah, you better get going with that. So, I mean, we got so much to get through. DJ Matty C, Paul Vold the Shield, and for one, Voldy, there's something a little different now. I think if you kind of look... Oh, look at that! MinneZona Sports
look
Live!
at that.
It finally came. Yes, claps all around. Thank you to the guys at Flag Nation. I've been pestering them for a while to give me an update, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, it shipped. Oh, I must have really... But thank you, Flag Nation. I appreciate you getting the flag for me, so... It's all good. All is good. But anyway, Voldy, we got a lot to get through tonight because, for one, we got to talk about probably the demise of the Minnesota Vikings. And then also, the Wolves start their season tonight. And we got Voldy's Virtues tonight as well. So, I mean, it's a jam-packed show. ARA, of course, Shield Shoutouts. So, Voldy, let's get it rolling, okay? Let's get it rolling with some Tater Tot. Hot take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it's time for some Tater Tot Hot Take. And obviously, we're starting off things, with our one and only Minnesota Vikings. Oh, it's been a frustrating deal. It's been a frustrating season for the Vikings. I mean, who hasn't had a frustrating season besides the Vikings? There's a lot of teams, but I for one, Voldy, it doesn't surprise me that the Vikings lost this game because I think you got to look at things into perspective, put things into perspective, I should say. And I mean, they just don't have what it takes to be a playoff team right now. There's a lot of rookies. There's been a whole bunch of injuries. And it showed against the Chicago Bears on Sunday. So, Voldy, there's very little chance that the Vikings can make the playoffs. And we'll go through the scenario in a second. But I just kind of want your thoughts on the game this past Sunday. And, I mean, where do the Vikings go from here?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, right from the get-go, it just didn't seem like they wanted to get into much of a rhythm of any kind whatsoever. Often the whole game, it just seemed like they weren't really comfortable or really able to get anything sustained going for a good long while. I mean, they were giving up big plays to Chicago. They're making David Montgomery look really good, making Trubisky look really good, and that's just how it goes against Chicago for the Vikings. They just can't seem to find a way to beat them in Minnesota some way. I still don't know. I think it's 3 straight wins now that the Bears have come to Minnesota and they've actually won. it just never seemed all that comfortable. Tempers did flare a little bit. It started to get, you started to see some of the cracks in the armor, and everybody was getting a little bit, on edge about what is actually to be happening and what needs to be done. But obviously as well, when stuff starts happening like that, when a team should really be coming together to possibly even make it into the postseason, you need things to come together. And unfortunately, it's just not looking like this is going to be the year for the Vikings.
It really doesn't, and I just said it at the beginning of the show. And so let's just kind of go through the scenario in which they somehow make the playoffs, okay? So with the Cardinals beating the Eagles, obviously there's one path. Obviously the Vikings have to win both their games.
Yep.
The Cardinals have to lose 2, and then the Bears have to lose at least once. So there is a path for the Vikings to get to the playoffs, but to be honest with you, I think they'd get killed. And it doesn't matter. I feel like it doesn't matter who they would play, because they're probably going to play that high seed, and they just don't have the personnel that they need to on defense. Offensively, they're fine. I mean, with injuries, the O-line is still a little bit suspect to everybody else, but they just don't have it. And this is a retool year, and I think this is something where Zim's going to look at the offseason and invest in a veteran presence. And there's some bright spots to this, though. Cam Dantzler had a nice interception. Offensively, Justin Jefferson's a freaking superstar, for one. And Adam Thielen and Dalvin and don't blame the loss on Kirk Cousins either, because Kirk Cousins played a great game as well. And it's something that they didn't come ready for what the Bears... I mean, basically what people are like, oh my gosh, Trubisky was so good. Well, it's pretty easy when you're going up against a team that's like decimated at the linebacker position, decimated at the D-back position as well. So just absolutely... Of course he's going to do well, but... Again, with all these play actions and bootlegs and everything like that, they played to his strength, and it worked, and it really did, and the Bears did a great job. Ethan says, hey, boys, Merry Christmas to all. Hope you are all staying safe and warm tonight in the blizzard. Oh, I'm trying to. I'm just
trying to.
It's the wind's blowing a lot here in Rock Solid Studios in Granite Falls, but, in Macon, there's a lot of snow, wind, everything. All right, so Cole Munson says he's in a hotel room right now. So props go out to Cole for getting a hotel room and just kind of relaxing for the night until this blizzard kind of moves past. If we win this week, the Cardinals lose. I think we make it. I do agree, though. I think we would lose by 2+ touchdowns to anyone we would play in the playoffs. Like I was saying, and I love the Vikings, and They did what they needed to do. There were games they should have won, though. Seattle, Dallas, you name it. They should have beat those teams, and they maybe are in that position in the wild card spot right now, not worrying about all this. So it sucks. It really sucks. And then Hunt brings up a good point, too. I was about to get to this. Hard to have a good defense with veterans hurt, like I said, and an opt-out with Pierce. Exactly. Yep. Would have helped big time with QB pressure. It's a building season for the rookies and young guys on defense. Expecting a bigger jump next year, though. Exactly. And I think that's
a good way to look at it.
That's a great way to look at it, Hunts. And defensive line needs... we need Daniil. we desperately need Daniil. We need another... And again, right. I wouldn't be surprised if they went out and got some other guys. But Wanham's been good. He's progressing. But... yeah, I think, like it says in the lower third, Voldy, stick a fork in it. I don't think the Vikings are going to make the playoffs. I hate to say this. It pains me. It pains me to say it, Voldy, but it's just, I know Zim's getting mad at me right now. He's saying, F me. It's just, it's terrible. But Voldy, what do you think? You agree that the Vikings probably won't make the playoffs, right?
Yeah, it's not looking too good, especially with the way that Arizona's been able to, really put something together in the latter half of the season. I think that the way they're playing right now, the way the Vikings are, it's not going to be very kind to them. And I think especially if they lose coming up against the Saints here on Christmas Day, it's definitely all that it needs to be said, because it's not going to go too well. I don't see the Vikings making it.
And for one, a lot needs to happen. The way that the Cardinals have been playing has been fantastic. So, Cole Munson asks, where do we go in the draft? Well, there's no shortage of need.
That's where we go.
Yeah. Best player available. That's kind of how I look at it. It depends on, and again, O-line's still a thing, as we like to say here, as a Kerf doctor likes to say, O-line. Anything's possible. Jets even won a game. And Metz is feeling pretty good about himself because he knows that the Packers are going to the playoffs. So, yeah, you can just, save your pity.
Yeah, Arizona's got San Fran and the Rams the next 2 weeks. So, we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, the Rams lost to the Jets. So, still have to draft more cornerbacks early in the draft, plus some more O-line. And I agree. And you keep shoot, how many DBs are they going to keep adding? And again, with injuries and whatnot. But I agree with Hunt's. I mean, that's kind of where you have to look. And if it's a pass rusher, great. And here's the Kerf doctor. He's saying it. All I want for Christmas is an O-line. O-line.
Gotta have it.
So, so I guess to wrap things up, because we got to move on to our Wolves. The Vikings probably won't make the playoffs. They got the Aints on Christmas Day. Yes, I will be watching. I don't feel confident whatsoever about this game against them. But nope. I didn't feel confident. For one, Voldy, I did not feel confident when they went into New Orleans in the playoffs. Nope. I thought they were going to lose that game. But they beat the Aints. Is there a possibility that they could beat them? I mean, they could ruin the season a little, fingers crossed and whatnot. But, Voldy, what do you I think the main thing, don't get embarrassed on national television on Christmas Day.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal right there. Cover the spread a little bit. Make sure everybody goes home with a few extra bucks in their back pocket on Christmas Day. And obviously, there's not a lot of confidence going into that. It's a short week, but obviously the teams that play the short weeks usually produce some pretty high-quality games. Let's just see if the Vikings just go out there, just cut it loose, and see what happens. I mean, they did, the Saints did, they did kind of take one on the chin against Kansas City. See if that kind of, ruffles a few feathers, especially with a couple of players having to sit out that contest. Cam Jordan got kicked out early in that game as well. That kind of affected a little bit of the pass rush for the Saints, but we'll see what happens.
For one, I think Bounty Gate is resurgent now. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, Drew Brees isn't feeling 100% either, so I think... if you got to have a pass rush, though. If you don't have a pass rush against them, cut the lights out. We're done. Mm-hmm. But anyway, moving on to our next team. Obviously, it's a big night if you're a Wolves fan. And obviously, I know it's basketball. We get it. But again, this is a season opener for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Wolves basketball has returned. A lot of offseason moves. We had some breaking news before the show. Voldy and I were chatting about this on the Twitter sphere. D'Angelo Russell, and they probably already tipped off, but D'Angelo Russell is not starting tonight. And guess who is starting tonight? Yep. Ricky Rubio. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, I think he'll do fine. They play the Pistons. The Pistons are, they're okay. But, Voldy, what are you looking most forward to about the Wolves season? Tell me.
I don't know.
But
when they can, I don't know. When I
some games.
Just wait until the hockey season starts here in 3+ weeks, I guess.
Hey, that's coming up
that's
too.
That's basically what I'm looking forward to about the Timberwolves. So.
Getting back to some zoners here. Let's enjoy the Cleveland Browns being in the playoffs for the first time in how many years? Due to who? Kevin Stefanski, hashtag Keenum's Keepers is on the team. It's a good look.
Exactly.
Due to breaking COVID protocols. Yeah, I did see that. I was about to mention that. So,
Idiot.
So, Voldy, this is going to be kind of different. This is for the zoners, too. I want to see Ricky Cole. Already trying to stir the pot with me. Ricky Rubio going to go for a 20-point triple-double tonight. Absurd statement. Well, hold on to that one. Is basketball still a thing? Apparently. I think so. Somehow, some way. But I want to start off with, because, we talk about, it's so great having the number one pick with Anthony Edwards and everything like that. We talk about, what could go right. Well, let's talk about, Voldy, what could go wrong with this team. And I know it's the Timberwolves, but let's talk about a couple things. Because I feel like the depth of the team isn't much. Because after Edwards and, Rubio and everybody like that, but there's really no lockdown defender or any. I put that as they gotta, have someone to guard, and they have They have a lot of scorers. So, Voldy, what do you think could go wrong for the Wolves this year?
Honestly, I think it's going to be I think it might be. I can't really name who's is going to be, but someone's going to get to the point with the fact that someone's going to try and get a big ego.
Yeah.
Could it be Karl Anthony Towns? Could it be D'Angelo Russell? Could it be Ricky Rubio? I don't know. I can't tell you who it's going to be, but I feel like for everything to go wrong, it may be another Jimmy Butler situation and shedding all the wrong lights on the Timberwolves as a team, as a franchise, as an organization, as a member of the association. But I feel like it's going to be something like that. Someone's going to demand the fact that, why am I not getting the ball more? Why aren't we winning games? Why do these guys suck? Why does this whole franchise just take a big dump each and every year? It could be that situation overall as well. I feel like if it's going to be that, it's going to be something that's going to – somehow it's always going to be the fact that Karl Anthony Towns is somewhere in the mix too. Maybe it's because of him. Maybe it's because of the fact that he's not producing. I don't know. It could be that situation, but I feel like as long as Cat is able to do his part and find the fact that somebody around him to get the ball a little bit more to take some of the pressure off, I feel like that's going to probably be another point as well. I don't know what I can tell you about it. I just know that, this team isn't going to be performing the way that everybody wants it to be.
Yeah, because it's the Wolves, and we say this all the time on MinneZona Sports. What could go wrong? Everything. Hunt's just said, too. A lot can go wrong. Cole's kind of refuting what I'm saying. He's saying Culver has looked like a good defender. Okogie is a lockdown guy. Rubio can play solid. And I'm not disagreeing with that, for one. I think it's also the bench is stronger than in years past, especially in the backcourt. Well, let's hope so. And again, if it's, we'll have to see what happens. Well, and then we're getting an update here from Hunts. It's 8-0 Detroit already.
There you go.
A lot's going wrong. But from my perspective, everyone's talking about the dynamic duo with Russ not Russell West, but D'Angelo Russell and Cat. Okay. Now, I can see it working, but in the games that they've played together, which hasn't been much, it's like 2 or 3, maybe even not even that. We got to see how well they can gel together, and I think they will. They're good friends and everything like that, and I think they'll be able to do it. Now, the question is Cat going to play some good defense now? Okay. And Cat is a guy that likes to go out there and, score the ball. Shoot threes, down low, and everything like that. But it's going to come down to how are they going to gel? How is it going to work? Defensively, you got Okogie, yep. You have Culver, yep. But I just look at this team and I think, well, people are already saying, well, they could be a playoff team. Don't go that route yet. And don't even, I would like to see them do that. But there's so many things that they need to do to even get to that point. Okay, they haven't played basketball, like a full-fledged game, since what? February? March? No clue. Okay, but this team has a lot of hoops to jump through before we're even considering playoffs for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, and another good point, too, that Mets brought up, this team still can't shoot threes consistently.
Yep.
That's another thing that has to be brought up, too. So there's so much that needs to be discussed and everything like that with this team. But I think there's some positives with this team right now, but they got to gel. And I think Saunders can get them to that point. We talked about this last week, Voldy. I don't see them getting to 500. And like Hunt is saying right here, goal is 500 right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if they get to 500, I'll be happy. Stamp of approval, everything like that. So if they get 500, I'll call that successful. We'll see how it plays out. But Ethan has some breaking news for us. Canada 1, Russia 0 in pre-tournament play. WJC winning gold to Drysdale. So there you go.
World Juniors, baby. Love it.
We got that. And then Cole Munson, not a playoff team, but making strides. One key is if Edwards can be the third star. Shooting shouldn't be a problem this year. Well, let's hope so. I mean, if they can't shoot... there's one guy we don't want shooting, though, and that's Ricky Rubio. We want him to take some shots that, will actually go in the hoop and everything like that. But I'm feeling confident that they'll fix some things. They'll do a lot of things better in some perspectives. But if they get to 500, yeah, I'll call it. But if it's just abysmal and things aren't working, I could see some frustrated T-Wolves wanting to get the hell out too. So
yep,
it's the Timberwolves, Voldy. I don't know what'll happen. So we'll have to see. But
we'll see.
Anyway, we'll keep you up to date and on the score and that coming up here. But I think it's time to go to Voldy's virtues because
might as well.
Voldy's got a lot. This topic is very, very interesting. But actually, before we get to that, this is funny. Ricky Rubio hit the backboard already on a corner three. Cole!
Attaboy, Ricky!
Cole! What is going on? Told you, Cole. Told you. All right, Rubio was contracted out by the Three Little Pigs for all the bricks he puts up.
Little pig, let me in.
There you go. So anyway, let's go to the Temple of Wisdom. It's been a while since we got into the Temple of Wisdom. It's time for Voldy's virtues.
He has emerged from the Temple of Wisdom. Gather round for Voldy's virtues.
All right, I'm very intrigued to hear this one because Voldy brings up a good question about this. Cole Munson says he called the bank and almost had it. Yeah, wrong. He still missed. It's still a brick in my book, Cole. So, anyway, Voldy, enlighten us with your wisdom.
Well, we all know that 2020 has been a garbage year. It's been a garbage year on multiple reasons. Of course, with everything going on, social distancing, the new normal, working from home, all that fun stuff that has gone along this year. But one thing that we take a look at as we close out the year 2020 is talking about those that have somehow reached the end of the rainbow and have been able to call themselves champions. But one question that does arise and has been brought up a few times, no matter what sport has finished off their season with championships, does winning a championship during a shortened COVID-19 season make you a real champion? And it all really started, of course, Major League Baseball, the NBA, and the NHL all crowned champions this year. We'll talk about the college side of things here in a little bit. We take a look at where we got to with some of the professional sports that crowned champions this year. Of course, the Los Angeles Dodgers, a team that had been to the National League Championship and the World Series multiple times in the last 5 years alone. This would have been their third trip, and they were able to finally reach the unreachable star that is the MLB title for the first time in 30 plus years that they are able to win a World Series. And they had to do it a little bit unorthodox. Of course, the fact that they did go out and they traded for Boston Red Sox outfielder and also former MVP, that being Mookie Betts, signed him to a 12-year contract extension using all the money in the world like if it was going out of style, and finally clinched a winner as well. They go out and they also get Brusdar Graterol from the Twins in a sort of a trade that didn't even really work. Both sides really benefited from it, though. But you also look at how they got to that point as well. Of course, they had Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler in the rotation, strong as ever. Back half the bullpen as well. A couple of guys that came through, Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May, even Julio Urias as well, a couple of young guys that stepped up in some key situations. But you look at it overall, 60-game season, playing a majority of your games in the bubble situation overall, but still getting away to get the team with the highest payroll in baseball versus a bunch of guys that were probably scraps to begin with in a normal 162-game season, that being the Tampa Bay Rays that they faced in the World Series. Now, does this lay a tarnish to the fact that in a full Major League Baseball season, would the Dodgers been there at the end of the year going up against the Tampa Bay Rays? Obviously, Tampa Bay kind of came through out of nowhere like they always do in their winning years and come the winner. Now, do I see this as bad? No. The Dodgers were the team to beat this year, especially the fact that they had, Mookie Betts in the fold. Now, does this make them an asterisk on the World Series winner? Absolutely not. I don't think so as well. For all the sports, the common theme I'm going to bring up here with all of these winners is that at the end of the day, they played the game, they went through all the changes, and they still found a way to win. We'll get to that here in a second with the LA Lakers, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about with the Lakers. All I know is LeBron James won another title, his third different team that he's played for, and he's won another championship. I don't know how he keeps doing it, but he just does. But getting back to the Dodgers, in a 162-game season, they still probably would have won a World Series, plus the fact that they would have gone through a full postseason, then the World Series playing at a neutral site that was this year. And obviously it was a great benefit for everyone because at the World Series, they were able to still have fans compared to all the other games leading up to that with little to no fans at all. Los Angeles Dodgers are a true champion this season. Now going to the LA Lakers here in the year that is Los Angeles after a tough start in 2020 with the loss of Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant. The Lakers did win 6 games against the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals in the bubble in Orlando. Obviously, really weird experience overall with a few tune-up regular season games. Then you go to the playoffs somehow, and then all the games taking place in the bubble over a span. Obviously, the NBA did a fantastic job because it worked out for everybody, and they're able to crown a champion after, a long layoff that was for, the regular season for when it ended in early March to get back and claim, how they were going to play everything in the bubble and also be able to get games going up once again following this, the social injustice unrest going on across the country. But obviously, with the Los Angeles Lakers, they had all the right tools. Obviously, this was going to be their year regardless. They get Anthony Davis. They get all these guys coming off the bench as well. Dwight Howard still finds a way to get himself on a team. He ends up winning a title. Kyle Kuzma, Rajon Rondo is there. The bald eagle himself, that being Alex Caruso as well. I mean, there's just so many guys here on this team that would be, benefactors on any squad. And it just so happens they kind of formed like the most unlikely of kind of super team, if you will, with the Lakers. And obviously they came out with the win in the championship. Does that mean that they're less of a champion because they took such a long layoff, played so many games back to back to back in a giant petri dish bubble area where guys were getting, sneaking out and getting caught left and right and getting suspended and, playing so many games. This was like the biggest AAU basketball tournament of all time. It just so happened to be with guys that are getting paid millions upon billions of dollars to play. I mean, if they're getting paid $1 billion, they better be good. But obviously, with the amount of money that's just going back and forth on the basketball court, another real champion that does come through because of the fact of the, how the storybook kind of ending came along with it, to go along with the Lakers. And of course they did win the NBA title, of course, wearing the black jerseys, or at least they were going to wear them, and then they weren't unable to close it out in Game 5 wearing the Black Mamba uniforms. But, a good story, but obviously you look at it overall, and it's got a really nice feeling to it with the champions. But, I agree that in this situation, I mean, they have probably had the toughest road out of them all, especially with how the league came up with the bubble, and it all worked out too. Going on to another bubble situation, the NHL. Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, they were the best team in the league last year.
Yeah.
And what happened? They get upset in the first round, and they just get stonked in the first round. They get swept in the opening round and shell-shocked. Well, this year was a different story for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They keep guys that they know. They bring in Patrick Maroon, a guy who just coming off a Stanley Cup with the St. Louis Blues, and they came to play.
Yeah.
Nikita Kucherov, league MVP type caliber player, ended up being a big factor in the postseason. Also in the bubble situation with Edmonton, and also serving as one of those bubble sites. Then they go and play the Dallas Stars of all teams for the Stanley Cup. Another interesting situation with how things kind of played out. Get a couple tune-up games leading up to, what was the end of the regular season into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Then you end up playing games all over the place. Games are getting pushed back because one game going into, 7 overtimes or something, like 4 overtimes, something like that. And then you throw in the fact, you got to go back to the hotel and probably play the next day as well. But the Tampa Bay Lightning were the team to come through. Nothing but experience in their team. Victor Hedman, Steven Stamkos when he was ready. I mean, Andrei Vasilevsky in net as well, who has been a great force for them since he came to league initially. I mean, you've got guys, Nikita Kucherov, like we talked about, who's really put himself on the map here in the last few years since he came over. And also getting the fact that Captain Steven Stamkos was hurt pretty much throughout the entire postseason and throughout, the latter half of the season. He comes into a game and ends up getting, one shift, ends up scoring. That's another nice story as well. But getting the fact of how it all played out for the Tampa Bay Lightning, defeated the Dallas Stars, and were able to bounce back from such a weird way to cap off a hockey season, and also how they got upset last year, bounced back instead of hanging their heads and going after it. Probably one of the more pure championship wins out of all of it, because they just had everything going for them, had a couple of plays go their way, and it ended up taking down a team that probably had no business being in the Stanley Cup final. But again, that's how this whole situation worked. It didn't matter if you're the best team, as long as you were the right team in the right situation at the right time to get those plays. That's how Tampa Bay, the Rays, got into the World Series.
Right.
How the Miami Heat also got there as well, because if you would have said the Miami Heat were playing in the NBA Finals at the beginning of last season, people would have probably, laughed you into next week, because they probably said you were stupid, especially in the post-Wayne Wade era. And Dallas as well, again, another team. Probably had no business being there at the beginning of the year, but still found a way.
Yeah.
That's the professional side of things here with our COVID champs. NCAA didn't have that chance. Middle of March comes around, you start thinking about all the championships are going to take place. You got men's and women's college basketball. You got ice hockey. You've got baseball. You've got softball. You've got wrestling as well. I mean, the winter sports especially, we're going into the postseason and also going into the national tournaments as well. Baseball and softball were just getting started, and lo and behold, just like that, taken away. All shut down. No March Madness, a huge impact financially for the NCAA. No men's or women's Frozen Four. No college series events for softball or for baseball. U.S. Bank Stadium was set to host the NCAA Wrestling Championships this year, and I knew a lot of people that were more than excited. I probably would have been excited too. I think if I would have had tickets, I probably definitely would have gone. I think it would have been a really cool experience. I mean, I'm not a big, amateur wrestling fan myself, but I respect the sport because I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. I mean, I could grapple around, but end up, flat on my butt 9 times out of 10, or even, 11 times out of 10. But you look at how that all ended up. It was a lose-lose situation no matter what. It's just a real shame that we're going to have to look back at this 10, 15, 20 years from now, and we look at 2020 for any NCAA championship that take place, and there's just a blank spot. But looking at it overall for the champions in the COVID era that is 2020, if anybody puts an asterisk against to anybody, it shouldn't be anyone because of the fact of what they all had to go through, what adjustments had to be made, the games that they played as well, and still at the end of the day, I mean, they got something out of it. They came closer together probably as teams, and at the end of the day, they ended up whole thing as well, shortened situations as well, but only to the benefit of being able to get back out onto your playing surface, the field, the court, the ice, and whatever, and at least go back to what it is all about at the end of the day. Other than getting paid, it's obviously about playing the game. So that's what we have for Voldy's Virtues this week.
Well, I would say, too, and, I agree with you. And I think, a lot of people, a lot of big LeBron James haters would say, oh, you got to put an asterisk on that one. No, you don't. The Heat were phenomenal. Nothing short of phenomenal this past year. And I say that because, again, Jimmy Butler did a great job with that team. And I know, that whole... I have a past with Jimmy Butler. We all know. But, again, it's with the NBA bubble, but you look at that, you look at the MLB, like you said, Voldy. I mean, it's not like they're going in there, thinking, oh, well, it doesn't matter. This doesn't count. Yes, it does count. I mean, they put in the work to make this happen. And how they were going to make this happen is having a set plan. It took the MLB a hell of a long time. NHL, I believe, was the first to even have somewhat of a plan. Then the NBA. The NBA does a fine job. NHL. Things like that. Now, it's frustrating to me when people like to just say, well, it doesn't count. It counts. No one's going to look back and look, let's just say for LeBron. I mean, it's LeBron, you're not going to look back and say, oh, no, they were in a bubble. That doesn't count. That doesn't count. It counts. It counts 100%. Anyway, let's get to Mets. The 1981 Dodgers and 2013 Blackhawks don't have asterisks for their championships during the strike-shortened seasons. Exactly. Gotta bounce, boys. Merry Christmas. Yes, Merry Christmas to you as well, Ethan. And Happy New Year as well. But you can't... Well, for one, the only one asterisk for one team, and that is the New Orleans Saints, 2009. We're just going to leave it like that. But
put it right there.
You can't take away the Blackhawks champion or the 1981 Dodgers. I mean, it's just how it is. Okay. But I agree with you, Voldy. Great virtues this week. And a lot of people, I don't think if anyone disagrees with that, I just think they're just butthurt because they don't like the team. That's just my thoughts on it. But, again, that's just me. All right, great job with virtues tonight, Voldy. And I think it's time to get to our next segment because I believe first we're heading to the ice because the NHL is going to be starting up as well. So let's get things rolling with approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, we got a lot of good ones tonight, Voldy. So why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we did say that last week that the NHL and the Players Association agreed on a tentative start date. Well, now we've got the whole kit and caboodle ready to go. Schedules were announced. Divisions are aligned. Playoff formats were announced. The NHL is back. January 13th, first regular season games for the 2021 season will be going on. Training camps, and they will be open to camp starting December 31st. But a lot of guys for a lot of teams are already in action as well at the practice facilities. But we do have where the Minnesota Wild are going to be lining up. And this is probably an interesting situation for them because last week we were talking about the potential of the Wild playing the likes of like Columbus, Nashville. They're going to be playing Carolina or something like that. Nope, straight Western Division. You split it right down the Mississippi. Everybody to the left plays in that division. Anaheim, Arizona, Colorado, Los Angeles, Vegas, San Jose, and the Blues will all be matched up against the Minnesota Wild in the Wild West Division. And the schedule is only divisional opponents as well. Now, DJ Matty C, absurd or approved the fact of how the NHL did match up all the divisions, and how do you think the Wild will fare in that Wild West division?
Well, I think the NHL did a good job, so I'll give them a stamp of approval for getting this all together and whatnot. But as for your next question about the Wild, how they're going to fare, I'm looking at these teams right now. The Ducks, they've always struggled against the Ducks. The Coyotes, or Coyotes, or whatever you want to call them.
Exactly.
They're either up or they're down, so it depends. Colorado Avalanche is always a big rivalry. The Kings, the Vegas are always very competitive. The Sharks and the Blues. I don't like their chances in the division because, again, there's a lot of good teams, and the Minnesota Wild are a team that is going to be transitioning to a different. They're going to have a different look to them. And don't be surprised if you see some of your favorite players traded again, because that's what Guerin's been doing. But
probably
you will see Kaprizov, and that's who I'm looking forward to seeing as well. But again, these divisions make sense, and I think you just split it right, like you said, split it right down the Mississippi and just go from there. But with a 56-game season, and I want to direct this question to you. How do you feel about 56 games? I mean, since it's absurd or approved, do you think it's absurd or approved how many games that they have? So, I mean, it's got my stamp of approval with, how they kind of put it together. How the Wild are going to fare, I don't feel confident about it looking at who they got to take on. But that's just me. But yeah, Voldy, I mean, I want to throw this to you. I mean, do you think it's absurd or approved the amount of games that they have?
No, I don't think it's absurd. I think it's definitely approved. 56 games is more than plenty, especially with the fact that we're going to see games, at least one game every day from January 13th all the way through May. Let's talk about that. And that's just the regular season. I mean, of course, even you throw in the likes of the postseason in there too. And of course, the postseason is going to be just like, regular season wraps up May 8th. So there's going to be at least one game from January 13th to May 8th. How awesome is that? And that is great to see. 16-team best of 7 4-round playoff format. Pretty much the same thing as it was last year. And that's how it's all going to shape up as well. I really like the fact that it's 56 games. You don't really need much more than that because it all comes down to the playoffs as well. Because if you really think about it, 82-game season and you play in the playoffs as well, minimum 16 games to win. I mean, you're already going to be playing close to 100 games right then and there. Saves a lot of guys a lot of trouble because there are going to be some guys that are already still hurt from last year that are going to be missing. I think I just saw that Nikita Kucherov for Tampa Bay, he's already going to miss the whole regular season already because he had hip surgery. And, that's a big hurt for the title defense for Tampa Bay. But, I mean, I think it's absolutely approved, the 56-game schedule. But looking at how the Wild are in this division, I mean, I see red flags left and right. You know, it helps that they don't play Vancouver this year because they could never beat Vancouver in the first place. Some winnable games, hopefully, against Arizona. They can't beat the Blues. They could never beat the Blues even if they wanted to in the first place. Vegas is a bit of a coin flip this year. The Kings, maybe. They're getting younger this year. Colorado, for some reason, they never have any good luck with Colorado, even if they were a crappy team. The Ducks, really another coin flip as well with that. But I like the division lineups, and I've only got one word for you. Road trip! Because we are going to totally see some of these games if we could in person, because it would be awesome. Because, I mean, these are great places to go to. I mean, Kings games are always good. Vegas would be awesome to go to, especially for, you know, that they're going to be playing them more frequently now. I mean, it's all approved in my mind.
Yeah, and I think the fan experience and everything like that, what the question is are they going to let some fans in, things like that? How is that going to proceed with the pandemic and everything like that? But, again, you're going to have to see how things, you know, go with, you know, because it's not like when 2020 is over, the COVID's just going to stop right then and there, too, because this is going to bleed into 2021. So that's for every, you know, sports franchise and, you know, league and whatnot. But here's something interesting, and I wanted to bring this up, too. The All-Canadian group, they want to be called, instead, you know, that's the North Division. Now they want to be called #WeTheNorth Division, taking it from the Toronto Raptors there for basketball. Oh, you're not a fan of that name, Voldy?
Not really, no.
All right, well, that's what the Twitter sphere, all the Canadians are saying, hey, that's what we want to be named. Well, it probably won't happen, so we'll see. But anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to the NHL getting started up, seeing some progression from the Wild, and I like this one as well. This is hilarious. It won't be the same watching the Wild not show up against the Blackhawks.
Pretty much, yeah. That'll be a nice little reprieve this year. So only to get let down for the future. So.
Save us the pain. That's the issue with that one. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, this one we go to the college football field landscape because it was announced earlier this week that the University of Minnesota Golden Gopher football program said whether they were invited or not, they were not going to be accepting any invitations to bowl games with a 3-4 record after pissing one down their leg against Wisconsin in the battle for the Axe, and what could have been a real highlight win in a tough season for the Gophers overall. Absurdo approved the Gophers not accepting any bowl invitations.
I'm more pissed off about the game in general, and I'm slumping in my chair because they had their chance and they blew it, as Voldy likes to say. And it's frustrating as hell that they lost to them because they had it, and they without Rashad Bateman or some of these other guys with COVID and injuries and things like that. How could you not take advantage of that and beat Wisconsin? It's got my stamp of approval, though, that they're not taking a bowl game because, again, this is it's almost kind of like a Vikings situation where they're probably going to get killed, whomever they play. But I think this is good. Just take the year to figure out what they're going to do next. The recruiting class looks pretty good and everything, so, I mean, there's positives in that. But it's frustrating that they lost to the Badgers when, again, another special teams blunder. You miss a field goal. It's the Minnesota way, missing field goals for kickers. It's something in the water. It's the state. I don't know what it is, but, again, the Golden Gopher football team, I think it's got my stamp of approval. I just feel like they're going to get rocked by whoever they would play against, and they just don't have a lot of firepower. I mean, Mo Ibrahim has been fantastic. Ottman Bell. I mean, Tanner Morgan, a lot of people last year were thinking he'd be a first-round draft pick, and I'm like, hey. after watching what I saw this past year, we're not going to go that far at all. But again, I think it makes sense at this point. They're 3-4. A lot of injuries. Bateman's gone, so I think you just got to kind of go along with it. It's got my stamp of approval that they declined it. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I'm going to go counterpoint here.
Oh.
I think it's absurd.
Okay.
I really do.
Okay.
I feel like a loss like that against Wisconsin would have put a little bit more fire in the bellies of the Gophers, because they had that game. They had that game won. They had their opportunities, and, they lost it. They lost games this year. They lost 2 games this year that they could have easily played, and, they could have had the opportunity to make up it. Luckily enough, they were at least able to get the Wisconsin game in as well. I would have liked to see the opportunity for the Gophers to showcase themselves at least one more time this year, and shed a little bit more light on some players that maybe have a strong opportunity to advance their careers. Mo Ibrahim would have been a great opportunity to show the national stage of what he has done this year. Big Ten running back of the year. Over 1,000 yards rushing in 7 games. He was named Big Ten running back of the year before they even played the Wisconsin game. So he had that already lined up. First Gopher to be named Big Ten running back of the year as well. And it would have been a great opportunity. You look at it from the standpoint of, maybe they would have lost more guys due to COVID and or injuries, things of that sort. You have a 3-4 record, but there are a lot worse teams out there that are playing bowl games right now. I mean, I haven't had the opportunity. It shocked me the couple of days this week. I come home at 3:00 in the afternoon, and they're already halfway. They're already in the second half of a couple of bowl games. I'm like, what time is it there? And it's like the Bahamas Bowl. It's the Idaho, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. It's like, oh, those games, those ones that are being played in the Northern Hemisphere. And not indoors or whatever. I think it's absurd. I wish the Gophers would have, taken the opportunity to at least play one more game.
This is what PJ Fleck said, too. And he said they invested, he said they invested a tremendous amount, the players, amount of physical and mental energy into competing in the Big Ten season this year and proudly representing Minnesota. Right now, our focus is strictly on their well-being off the field as we look forward to them being able to responsibly spend some of the remaining holiday season with family and loved ones, which, again, I think that's kind of how he put that into perspective. Right. But, again, if they wanted to showcase, and I don't necessarily disagree with you on that, because you can showcase a lot of these guys. Ibrahim, maybe even Morgan can even show some, signs of progression and things like that. Ottman Bell, again, they could have, but I think when it all comes down to is they made that decision. I don't think anyone really gives a rip either way, because it's just kind of like, well, this whole year's been so messed up and whatnot. But I mean, we'll see what happens next year. Hopefully, things start to turn around here with the pandemic and whatnot. So we'll see what happens. But the recruiting class looks good, so we'll see. All right, next one, Voldy.
Yeah, we go to the NFL for this one, talking a little quarterback controversy, even though it's pretty one-sided right now. With Jalen Hurts playing pretty well for the Philadelphia Eagles, taking over for fledgling quarterback Carson Wentz. It was reported that, early this week that Carson Wentz is not interested in being a backup. He wants to be the starting quarterback. It's a question to if it's going to be with the Eagles or is it going to be somewhere else. Although a couple of games left here in the regular season, and of course looking like that's going to be Jalen Hurts' show for the rest of the year, brings up an interesting point. Of course, a lot of comments back and forth about how Wentz has played and how it's not even the fact that he can be a starting quarterback. Is it absurd or approved? Carson Wentz's comments that he wants to be the guy, and is it going to be with the Eagles for the future?
I know I have family members, and my Uncle Tom, my Aunt Dorothy, that live in Philly, and they're overjoyed with Jalen Hurts. And I don't think it's going to be with the Eagles. I think Carson Wentz is going to go to a different team. And here's the thing. A lot of people rip on him a lot because of the interceptions and him not playing well, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think there's just something off. There's just something off with him. And, you can throw all the jokes at him that you want and everything like that. He hasn't responded in any negative manner. And I think with Eagles fans, for one, you can get ripped in a matter of seconds. I mean, if they're throwing snowballs at Santa Claus, X, Y, and Z, what they did to the Vikings after the NFC Championship, we'll just leave it at that. But I think Wentz I think he'll have an opportunity to be a QB1. Do I think that he'll sustain that? I don't know at this point because he's been pretty bad. And I think he needs a lot to look. He needs to figure out some things. And he has that talent. I mean, for gosh sakes, he was the big reason why they went to the Super Bowl because, of what he did before.
Exactly.
And whatnot. So I just think that he needs just and I don't think it's because the Eagles, they're very impatient. Very, very impatient people. And I think it's going to be with a different team, but again, you're going to be eating up a lot of dead cap with Carson Wentz. Because after signing that contract, I'll give an example with Diggs and the Vikings and everything that transpired with that. They still have to pay some things. So, would you take Wentz over Cousins? No, I would not because I think it's I see it kind of going back and forth with that. But I look at Kirk's stats. They're far much better than Wentz's right now. But I'd probably take Kirk over Wentz at this point. But I still think he has a lot. I think he can turn it around. I just don't think it's going to be with Philadelphia. I think he needs to be put in a situation where he can succeed and a team that'll have a little bit more patience. You need maybe a quarterback guru to help him out. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think it's going to be with a different team. I really do. So Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just time. I think the marriage between the Eagles and Carson Wentz might be in some trouble. Yep. I think obviously when you threw that money at him, you were playing with house fire, and obviously it isn't working right now. The media certainly isn't helping, nor does it ever help because they are trying to run Carson Wentz out of town, especially the national media too. They're coming after him left and right, and obviously the performance isn't there. Would I take Wentz over Kirk Cousins? I certainly wouldn't. I'd take him as a backup because the fact the Vikings don't have a backup that's actually worth anything or wouldn't do anything in the emergency need if, knock on wood, Kirk Cousins gets hurt. But, as to where Kirk Cousins lands, it's tough to say. I don't know if maybe the likes of, some sort of weird happening goes on to where he might end up in a Patriots uniform. That would be something. I don't know, maybe Indianapolis or something. I know they got Jacoby Brissett, but, wouldn't mind another quarterback battle down there when, Phillip Rivers decides to hang him up. I think Mets just brought up Vegas. That's another, that'd be an interesting one as well because they got Marcus Mariota and Derek Carr there now. So, I don't know. There's a lot of open doors. But obviously, the fact that the Eagles are going to have to eat a lot of money on that one, going to see another very interesting situation, a la how things kind of ended up between Tony Romo and also Dak Prescott. So we'll see what happens. But even Jimbo bringing up the Jets, why not? Where quarterbacks go to die. Unless Ryan Fitzpatrick, though. He just flourished with the Jets for some reason. So might as well.
Yeah. And Mets brought up Vegas, too. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility because I don't know if Derek Carr's had his really good moments, but there are times where he's just terrible and whatnot. But that's another destination that could happen too. But a lot of credit to Jalen Hurts. He's definitely played really well. Now the question is, can you sustain that? Because like we said, Eagles fans are very impatient. So we'll see what happens. But again, I really hope he gets another opportunity because I think he can figure something out. Washington, another place that would be interesting to see. I don't think Alex Smith will, he hasn't been the same, since I don't think anybody would for his injury, but I give him a lot of credit. But Washington's another area which would be intriguing. So,
right.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens with Wentz, and hopefully he can turn it around. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, we go back to the college football landscape, and this one talking about the college football playoffs and the coaches poll ballots that were unveiled somehow. That information got out. And, of course, the Ohio State University took another one on the chin, of course, coming as Big Ten champions this past weekend as well. Well, they did get a lot of respect from Dabo Swinney. National champion in his own right with Clemson Tigers. He put the Ohio State Buckeyes number 11 in his coaches poll ballot that he had submitted. And again, that information was released as well. Well, a lot of people didn't really like that all that much, saying that Dabo Swinney and Clemson don't have a lot of respect for the Ohio State University.
Clearly.
But when you look at some of the numbers overall, they kind of do favor a little bit Clemson and how they've kind of, put themselves in the driver's seat to be the number one team and also be in the top spot, actually the number 2 spot, I should say, in the college football playoff standings as it currently is. Is it absurd to approve at Dabo Swinney putting Ohio State at 11 in his coach's ballot?
Well, I know Joe Clements probably has a huge issue with this right now. Just wanted to throw that out there. But I'm surprised this got leaked. And this is the first time, for me at least, that I've heard what the rankings that coaches have had. So here's my question. Is there a conspiracy or something like that to where Dabo wanted this revealed to piss off Ohio State and all its fans and things like that? Like, is this a mind game that he's playing with them? But I feel like Dabo kind of is one of those guys that just likes to stir the pot a little bit, And that's, it makes for good content and everything. But man, that was a shot, and it's for one, I think that changing the rule and everything like that for Ohio State being in the Big Ten championship game. They beat Northwestern and everything like that, but it's just they got the rules changed for them. We talked about this before. I think Dabo didn't like that, but again, I just think it's funny how this it gets all revealed, and I feel like this is a Dabo Swinney thing that he's just kind of like oh, let me stir the pot a little bit, have this leaked, and see where it goes. But they are a very good team. Justin Fields is a very talented player. Northwestern was no cupcake in that game, so
they weren't.
I wouldn't put them down at 11. I think that's a little absurd in my opinion. But if he had them like at 7, I guess I wouldn't have a big deal with it. But 11, I think's a little. I think that's showing that you really don't like them that much. So that's just my opinion on it. So, but. Quick Wolves update.
Oh, boy.
What do we got? Quick Wolves update. Still down to Detroit, but Edwards looks really good. Hernan Gomez can't hit a shot, which is killing him, yeah. Finally, Blake Griffin is having a field day. So
good.
Got to work on your post defense for the Wolves. So that's
it took them 3 teams to finally figure something out.
To dunk. At first with him coming in. But anyway, back to the Dabo thing. Yeah, I think it's a little absurd that he put him at 11, and I think this is him trying to stir the pot a little bit. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I think it's a little absurd too, but you look at, like we were talking about with games, Ohio State played only a handful of games. Compared to the Tigers who played 11 games, but Ohio State only played 6. Putting them in the top 4, obviously not. I'd probably put them at 6 or 7. Of course, they're still a conference champion of that own right. I I mean, honestly, the coaches' ballots do get released. They get put in the USA Today and whatever.
Oh.
This is just the first time that I can remember actually, being so much controversy, if you will, about coaches' ballots and everything. Of course, 23 of the 61 coaches' ballots actually put Notre Dame, who did, lose to Clemson 34-10 in the ACC championship. They put them outside the top 4, but still high enough to, at least put them in some decent position as well. Of course, Alabama number 1, the Tigers are 2, the Buckeyes, of course, are number 3 in the college football, playoff poll, and of course number 4, that being to Ohio State. So quite the matchup overall. Of course, the Tigers going up against Clemson, I should say, going against the Buckeyes at number 3. So I mean, this is the way of staying in the stirring things up like we've been talking about. I just found it interesting how about the fact that there's so much light brought onto this situation and exposing things for things that there shouldn't be.
Right, and I was just looking for the Gophers on this list. Oh, I'm just kidding, but it's I feel like Dabo is just trying to get people going a little bit, but I think games matter. That's what he's saying. That's what he said in what he told the press and everything. But it's very clear that he's throwing shots at him a little bit. So I don't know. I think it is what it is. I mean, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame. A lot of people thought Notre Dame was going to be out of that. So, I agree with it. I just think Notre Dame losing to Clemson and such, I think that killed them, I believe.
Where's Coastal Carolina? That's my question.
Yeah. So, Jimbo asked who would be your top 4. Maybe Coastal Carolina for you, Voldy.
Oh, they're definitely in there.
Okay.
Chanticleers, baby.
There you go. Rubio just missed a wide open layup.
That's the Rubio we all know.
Yep. Cole, you're really making yourself look bad right now. Just wanted to throw that out there. Anyway, let's move on to we're gonna stick with NBA for this last one. So rattle the next one for us, Voldy.
Yeah, of course, the possibility. Of course, the NBA season starting right now. Started last night. And Commissioner Adam Silver was actually asked the question and posed the question about the acknowledgement and possibility of NBA expansion. Now, he did neither confirm nor deny the previous statement about the previous statement, but he did acknowledge, of course, the possibility of adding more teams to the NBA. Of course, he did bring up the fact that, there is the possibility of that happening. And, of course, preseason availability going on. And, of course, during a pre-pandemic era, would have been a stronger possibility of NBA coming, expanding teams as well. But, of course, he has to look at the financial side, of course, availability for, infrastructure, arenas, things of that sort. A lot of things play into that too. My question is, maybe not so much absurd or approved, if we do expand the NBA, of course you want to keep it a nice even number. We're at 30 teams now, 32. Where would be 2 places where you'd like to see NBA franchises?
Well, I want to say this because I understand that people want, all these, added teams and whatnot, and it's just like, can't you just, if you keep trying to add teams, can't you get, isn't there a max of teams that you can have, in a league? Like, I think there's a lot of interested parties and everything like that, but I just don't see the point to keep adding more teams and whatnot. Again, it's the revenue, and I get that, but it's just so much to, take it. And again, I think there's some real engagement with this, but a lot. Going back to your question, Tyler says Iowa. I just think that's hilarious. I think a lot of, for one, I feel like a lot of teams or a lot of players would be turned off by that because all you got is cornfields and things. It's just, I don't think that would be the best one, but it's funny. I know he was joking, but Jimbo says Vegas has to be one, and I agree. I tend to agree with that because I think Vegas is something that they'd probably definitely look at. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I'm just saying, how many teams are you going to add is my question to Adam Silver. But I agree with Jimbo. I think Vegas is a very good one. Seattle. What about Seattle?
Has to be.
Bring back the
Has to be
Supersonics. I know it's very controversial. Would you then need to change the playoff format? That's another question that needs to bring up. If you add more teams, then you have to, look into that. The NBA was better when there was a team in Seattle.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mets. Because I think, the Supersonics, they're an iconic team. I think a lot of people would love to see them back. Maybe they look towards another Canadian team or something like that. I know Toronto and everything like that. That's another option. I'm not 100% sold on
Vancouver.
it. Yeah.
Bring back the old Grizzlies.
Yeah. Now Vancouver. Now that'd be something that I enjoy as well. Memphis is a good town. I feel like Memphis is a good town for him and everything like that. I'm trying to think of some others, but I couldn't see like a Montana or. I could see maybe a North Dakota type of thing, but I doubt it. But yeah, I don't know. They're just a couple of options. But I agree. I'm with Jimbo on the Vegas one and then Seattle. So, but at halftime for the Wolves, 57-56 though, they're still they're still in
hanging
the game.
in there.
So Cats got 15 points. So that's good news. But Voldy, what cities would you like to? I probably already mentioned them, but yeah, do you have any other cities that are different?
It has to be. It has to be Seattle. If they're going to talk about expansion, Seattle's got to be the next team because they already got the NHL team coming up next season that's going to be playing. They've got the arena coming up right now. It's a lot easier to transfer a hockey rink into a basketball court than the other way around. You just throw some pallets down, throw on the floor, you're good to go. Vegas certainly be a good one because that's where they have the summer league, the development league or the G League now that it's called. They had the finals there. They've always had a good relationship with Vegas. That's where Team USA holds the workout camps and whatever before the start of the Olympics and what have you. Yeah, Vegas and Seattle would be the two teams, but of course you put two teams. You'd like to see one in each conference, one East, one West. It's tough to say where you would put a team on the East Coast because there's so many. I don't know, maybe Cincinnati, maybe Columbus. I don't know. Well, they've already got Cleveland, so there's not really a whole lot where else to go. But obviously out West, my two choices would definitely be Vegas and it would definitely be Seattle.
Right, and I just thought of one too. Obviously with Atlanta and everything, maybe another town in, maybe Georgia or something like that. That'd be interesting. I think that or maybe out. There's a lot of possibilities, or what they can do with it. But again, I just think you keep adding teams, then you have to change all these formats, and then you have to get all the players, aligned and whatnot. So my question is, how many are you going to add? So we'll see. But anyway, I think that'll do it for Air A. Great job again, Voldy, with our stories.
Thanks, sir.
And it's time for Shield Shoutouts. And there's a lot of very cool shoutouts. I'm looking at it right now. And I think we need to get to those right away. So it's time for some Shield Shoutouts.
Shield Shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who are you shouting out tonight?
Well, before we get to Shield shoutouts, I'd just like to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. Have a happy, healthy, and safe Christmas. Safe travels to everybody, whether you're spending it in person with loved ones, family members, or people that you absolutely despise. Whatever it is, virtually or by any other means, just enjoy the time as well. We certainly do appreciate all of you, so we do wish you a very Merry Christmas, and be safe, be smart, all that fun stuff. Do have to give a big Shield shout-out, of course, weekly Shield shout-out to creative consultant Mrs. Sarah Antus Vold, of course, for the setup, the drip that you see in front of you here for tonight, the Case Keenum Cleveland Browns jersey, and also the hat as well. A nice birthday present. My birthday was this past Saturday, so that was a really nice start to the weekend that was with the Case Keenum jersey and hats go along. So big Shield shout out to Mrs. Vold for that. Do I have to also wish a happy belated birthday to somebody I didn't know it was his birthday this Saturday, sharing a birthday with me. It'd be Aiken's finest own, Jake Ince, who was also named All-District Honorable Mention for his work with the Aiken Gobblers football team as well. So happy belated birthday. Now I'll get to see hopefully what he can do out on the ice with the Northern Lakes Lightning hockey team here this winter, and also for the baseball team this spring and summer too. So happy belated birthday to Jake Ince as well. Big Shield shout out to Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson, breaking the Vikings rookie record for receptions in a loss to the Chicago Bears this Sunday, previously held by Randy Moss, but also was named to the Pro Bowl along with Dalvin Cook on Monday as well. The fifth receiver in, I believe, the last 20 years to be named to the Pro Bowl as well, a rookie wide receiver that is. I have to give a Shield shout-out to Vikings tight end Tyler Conklin, not to be confused with Stanley Cup winning goaltender Ty Conklin, on scoring his first NFL touchdown against the Chicago Bears on Sunday. We do have to give a somber Shield shout-out, rest in peace, to NFL legend and Hall of Famer Kevin Green, who did pass away at the age of 58 years old on Monday. Still ranks third all-time in career sacks, 160 sacks, playing for the Rams, the Steelers, the Panthers, and also the 49ers in his career. But a couple of nice little Shield shout-outs here at the end of this week. The last couple of days, I have to give a big thank you and a Shield shout-out to the landlords of the Woods and Shores Studios, that being Kathy and Rod Sparks. Did give us a nice little Christmas gift, including a nice card, a reusable bag, and also a really nice cutting board in the shape of Minnesota with the Woods and Shores logo on it. It was really cool to see because, I mean, you put anything printed in the state of Minnesota or in the shape of Minnesota, and I love it. I love it. Sarah loves it as well. We can't get enough of it. And also, this happened here a couple hours ago. So I'm sitting here in this very chair working. I get a knock on the door, and lo and behold, it's our next door neighbors that we share a wall with. I don't know if they're probably listening right now or not, but we do have to give a big Shield shout out to our neighbors, Hannah and Malik, for dropping off a really nice Christmas basket this afternoon. Totally out of the blue. We don't have anything to give back. We feel like dicks about it. It is what it is, but maybe we'll give them something on New Year's. I don't know, but big Shield shout out to them as well. That's going to do it for Shield shout outs this week.
Wow, how about that? We had a lot of nice shout-outs. Yeah, crazy. You lot going on right now. So, great job with Shield shout-outs. Again, Shield. But a couple things that we need to get to. And I'll start off with this. Jimbo mentioned something about, I believe, sweatshirts. Guys, sweatshirts are available. Okay, make sure you go and check out the sweatshirts. $40, $5 shipping. You talk to me, you talk to Jimbo, you talk to Voldy, you talk to the Kerf Doctor. We'll get you set up with MinneZona sweatshirts. They're very comfortable. 5 out of 5 stars, per usual, as well as the shirts. Shirts are available, $20, $5 shipping, so make sure you get some shirts as well. So, again, talk to Jimbo. He'll get you set up with that. But another thing, too, no Q&A Thursdays this week because, for one, we want you to spend time with your family. We want you guys to have, enjoy your time with your family and whatnot, and during Christmas Eve. And so we're just going to let you guys chill for a little bit for this week, and then we'll get back to Q&A Thursdays. Moving on to our next one, W2 Performance, the Barbell Nerds with Will Rattel. Stickers are available now for $2. I have it right here. I'm still debating on what I should do with it. I think I'll put it on a water bottle or something of that matter. So $2 for these puppies. They're fantastic. They're great. I got to put them on a water bottle or something. But speaking of stickers, MinneZona stickers, people. We got stickers. We've got bumper stickers as well. Voldy's got his. We are doing a giveaway next week, okay? And we'll give you the details on that later on. So make sure you check those out. We got big bumper stickers. We got smaller bumper stickers. We've got window decals, for goodness sake. I mean, yeah, see, just keep throwing them out. Exactly. We will have a fun time with these. Thank you to Tyler Knutson, Crown Rental, for getting us all that. I mean, they look fantastic. I already have it on my laptop here. Great job. Fantastic. So,
absolutely.
One last thing as well. Check out Jack O'Keefe's show, Jack's Junkyard. We were featured on the show, what was it, 3 weeks ago already? Man, that time flies.
Yeah, man.
But,
crazy.
I believe he's on a break right now, but he'll be back with season 2 coming up. So, make sure you check out his show. We appreciate it. Voldy's picking up his stickers and everything like that. There's so many. Idea. Well, we got the flag back here as well, MinneZona Sports Live. So I'm happy that we have that. That'll be hanging up there for pretty much every show now. So it's a fantastic deal. But anyway, thank you to all the zoners that tuned in. Again, like Voldy said, Merry Christmas. Enjoy your time with family. Make sure you stay safe. Hopefully this blizzard finally just ends at some point, but it's Minnesota, so you never know what's going to happen. But we'll see. But anyway, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.